Hey yo guys, what's up and welcome back to Toe Tags Metal Reviews, and today we're getting our final review of Vile Nilotic Rites from Nile. We spent the entire week listening to this album non-stop, as many times as we possibly can, to develop our opinions and reviews. And I'm gonna hand the floor over to TV Fish to let us know what he thinks.
Alright, so after 1 week of listening to this album, I have to say it's actually pretty good. Contrary to what I said and what we said about the album.
Our first impressions were a little weak.
Yes, they certainly were. So one thing that I will address right now, you know, to comment on what we said last week, is last week we said, oh, there's so much extreme metal stuff, you know, too much happening, whatever, like it's just too condensed, whatever. Yeah. The more I listened to this album, the more things really started to like line up for me. And a really good example of that is That Which Is Forbidden. There's a lot of crazy stuff in the song, sure. But at the same time, when you're listening to the riff, it feels more like easier to understand than when we listened to it at first.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if that makes us look like idiots, because I kind of feel like it does. But also keep in mind, you know, with the way that we do this channel, how we're constantly listening to something every week.
Yeah.
Coming into this album, we had just finished a week of listening to Nonstop Ginger,
yeah,
which is a very different environment.
Yeah,
so
completely different gear.
It's like switching over, you know, we've said this multiple times, but it really does have a big effect on how our first impressions might go for some albums, because that totally affected how we were gonna go into a completely different album.
Yep.
So now that we've had this one for a week, you know, it's all, a lot of the riffs have started to kind of jump out to me as like, oh wow, this is a pretty good riff, and you know, there's not too much happening. That being said, I noticed when I focus on the album, I notice some things. I notice that the riffs are good, but I find sometimes it kind of loses my attention quickly. Like it's easy for me to get distracted, and then it just becomes really good background music, you know? Like this is a good background music album. I think we said that last week as well.
Yeah.
So this album, like it has that multi-purpose because there is depth to it. And there's songs like Seven Horns of War, and I think I talked about it last week, but I'll talk about it again because of how good this song is. The way it starts totally sets the tone. It's got, you know, this big, grand, all these horns. It really sounds like the Godzilla theme.
Yeah.
Like when that comes on, I noticed that every time I heard it. Like once I'm like, oh, this sounds like Godzilla, it just kept coming back to me. And you know, the quiet part that happens is cool, like all the kind of like despair-induced screaming going on, and it just, there's a lot more weight to that song than I feel like some of the other songs.
Yeah, because it has the horns and you hear like the trombone and stuff like that, and
there's a lot more theatrics with it.
There's a lot more theatrics. It's got this big band orchestra feel to it. Big production kind of thing. It's theatrical sounding.
And that was there with other songs.
Yeah.
But I do kind of feel like you can kind of lump the songs in together, but not in a super bad sense, more of like a, okay, there's not enough that really jumps out super hard, like the horns in Seven Horns of War, for example.
Yeah.
So it's still like, I was enjoying it, but I wasn't really loving it.
Yeah. And you did mention That Which Is Forbidden as a highlight track too, and I think that's a highlight for you because it also stands out in the sense that it's a little bit slower and more brooding than the other tracks. It's got a different feel to it.
And it stands out because of that.
There was two tracks that stood out to me throughout the week. One is track number 10, The Imperishable Stars Are Sickened. It's one of the longer songs. I think it's close to 8 minutes or 7 minutes, something like that. This song's got a lot of elements to it that really started grabbing me. So the first portion of the song is very standard, typical Nile, like the rest of the album. Then it goes into some cool stuff. It's got a pretty decent solo. It's got almost a clean vocal type of part. Then there's one part with like a really deep guttural growl that I really liked. The riffing style is really cool. There's lots of riffing styles in the song. You got tremolo picking, there's chord chugging, there's like scale riffing, there's all kinds of stuff all happening, but it all gels together really well. The flow of the song is really nice. That whole song started coming together for me throughout the week very nicely. It became one of my favorites. So that was a highlight for me. Another highlight for me was the title track. I really started getting fond of the melodies in this track. They were reminding me of a song called Eaten by Bloodbath, which is one of my favorite songs. It's just such a badass song, but melodically I found parallels between that song and this song, so I think I was kind of vicariously enjoying it in that kind of way.
I also found the riff in that song is really good too. Like that
Yeah.
was really, it like catches you pretty well.
Yeah, and you know what? I want to say something that you made a point a minute ago about how the riffs were good, but they were like, it was easy to get distracted and kind of just forget about them after. I found the exact same thing, and I thought maybe that was just me, but the fact that you said that kind of validates how I felt too, because he's right. Like, I'll be listening to it and I'll go, oh yeah, this is cool. This is a rad riff. Like, oh yeah, I'm digging it and digging it, and then I kind of just get lost in something else and I forget the second half of the song. Like,
yeah.
it's good, but it's not captivating enough to keep my attention. So yes, this became background music for me. And that's something that I did say in the first impressions video, and that's not just this album, it's this band. This band, for me personally, has always been a background music band. It's hard to put this band on for me and focus on the whole album in its entirety and enjoy the whole thing. If it's on in the background, I can dig it. Just let it pound away, let it wail away, and I'm happy, it's cool. But to focus on it and really pay attention to it, it's very easy to get lost because there's a lot of monotony in there, and there's just not enough to really keep you hooked.
And you feel like this band could be doing a lot more in terms of that. If they made more tracks like Seven Horns of War, I feel like they'd be doing so many more interesting things instead of just like, yeah, let's do this brutal riff and then just kind of like do some noodling.
Yeah.
But you know, that's a little bit too negative. Like, it's not like it's like bad. You know, throughout the week I grew to appreciate it.
Yeah.
And the riffing that they would do and how, like, you know, cool things sounded. It's just it kind of blended together still.
Yeah, and we did have a couple of Nile fans, like hardcore fans, telling us in our comment section that this is almost like a return to roots for this band. Like, every band evolves and changes their sound from time to time and tries different things, experiments. This, what we're told, is a more of a return to their original kind of sound, which is obviously a good thing for Nile fans. I did notice that there's a lot of the Egyptian themed lyrics in here. I didn't look up the lyrics, but just hearing different words in there, like I can't remember exactly off the top of my head, but I heard words here and there that were like Egyptian sounding. I don't know.
Ooh, the words.
Yeah, words I've heard before on TV or something, in movies. I don't know, but anyways, I think that's at least a positive aspect for the album, you know,
Yeah.
even if it's something we might not be able to relate to on a personal level.
It is a cool theming. Like, just
Yeah.
look at the cover art. That looks sick.
Yeah.
You see that? Like, all that stuff going on?
Yeah.
That's rad. The pyramids and all the color scheme, and it looks really cool.
Yeah, I
It's
think it's
very
alright.
fitting for the theme of the band.
Yeah. But yeah, you know what? I wish there was more stuff I could say, like, oh, this part in that song, and that part in this song, and yada 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 yada. But throughout the week, I just really didn't find anything that was really screaming at me, except for maybe the guttural vocals in The Imperishable Stars Are Sickened. But even that, I don't think is worth really spending too much time talking about, or talking about it like it's some super high point. Like, it's just a little bit of a guttural. Like, it's not so impressive. It just sounds cool in that song, especially because it's like one of 3 different vocal styles on that one track.
Yeah, perhaps it really only jumped out at you that hard is because there's a lot more monotony on the album for you.
That's exactly what it is. But with that said, let's rate the album. So TV Fish, what do you give it?
Alright, so this album for me gets a 6 because it's good. I don't dislike this album, especially after a first impression. Like, it grew on me a lot in that sense. You know, the riffs are kind of cool. When I was paying attention, I was enjoying it, but it didn't really grab me enough to really be a super exceptional album. But I still think the album is good. I think Nile fans will enjoy it. I think it's a good album. It's a 6.
I think Nile fans will enjoy this album as well. Actually, they've told me that they enjoy it. But for me personally, and I'm trying to look at this objectively too, I don't think it offers enough to really get any type of high score. It does have a few tracks that stand out pretty good. The musicianship's nice, the production is nice, but overall, I'm kind of just very on the fence with this. There's good riffs, but they're not memorable. There's a lot of like pros and cons that kind of just weigh like this. I'm gonna give this a 5. I'm really on the fence with this one. I don't hate it, I don't love it. It's neutrally enjoyable for me. I think a 5 is a fair score. Wish I can give it higher, but I just can't justify anything higher than a 5.
Well, I mean, 6 from me, 5 from Vile. It's still a pretty decent album, I would say.
Yeah, not bad. Check it out, guys. Always check out the albums we review. Let us know what you guys think in the comments below. If you agree with us, let us know what you think. But that's it for this video. So like it if you liked it. Subscribe if you guys are new to the channel. I am Vile Self.
I'm TV Fish.
And we'll see you guys very soon on the next video. Keep those heads banging.